Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Chopra, and joining me on the broadcast is Mr. Gauranga Das. He's part of the governing body commission of ISKCON GBC for strategic planning. Mr. Das, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We're having this conversation amidst unfortunate circumstances unfolding in Bangladesh. I want to begin by understanding from you, sir. Two ISKCON priests, Shyam Das and Ranganath Das, have been reportedly arrested after serving prasad to Chinmoy Das in prison. Have you learned why?
Right now, our leadership is trying to work with the government and trying to make sure that the normalcy is restored. It's very unfortunate that these kind of incidents continue, and we are very concerned about this, and we want to make sure that all those who are responsible for this need to be alerted and informed that we want justice, we want equity, we want proper representation and respect.
Ms. Das, Chinmoy Das has also been denied a fair hearing before the court and lawyers are refusing to represent him. Is the ISKCON somewhere hoping to work to help Mr. Chinmoy Das find a lawyer in Bangladesh?
ISKCON has been very closely working with all the agencies, including the Indian Mission, including Government of India, and also the government there, and trying their best to make this a very fair and just affair, because we want from ISKCON's side very clearly to protect the civil rights of Chinmoy Krishna Das and other Sanatanis, and we want immediate implementation of effective measures to maintain peace and harmony amongst all the communities in the society. So yes, as a leading Sanatani organization within the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, ISKCON in Bangladesh is dedicated to safeguarding the religious freedom and the rights of the minorities.
Do you somewhere feel that a frivolous case of sedition has been started against Chinmoy Das to further oppress the voice of Hindus in Bangladesh?
Minorities across the world always have challenges, and I would say that ISKCON is present currently in more than 120 countries, and we have experienced that various places, as the political climate goes up and down depending on the different types of governments which come in control, there are various kinds of upheavals which do happen, and in the past we have had challenges in different countries. We have tried our best to deal with the situation and resolve it in the most amicable manner. India is a Hindu dominated country, whereas in other countries Hindus are not in majority. Whereas ISKCON, which has been spreading the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sanatan Dharma principle, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we spread our message based on the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Puran, and also the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have our publishing arm called the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International, and a fantastic app with audiobooks called the Transcend app, published by the BBT. We have been publishing books and literatures in more than 80 languages, and we have distributed more than 550 million pieces of literature across the world, including India and other countries where Hindus are in minority. So we have experienced that the literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita, has found great appreciation and acceptance amongst people of all traditions, because ultimately we are speaking about the science of spirituality. And therefore, I would say that ISKCON has very seamlessly integrated with society across the world, just like sugar in milk or salt in the food.
Yes.
And, you know, in the past also, even in Bangladesh, we have almost 120 temples, and these temples could not have been built and run unless there was support from the government, unless there was support from the community. And we have been distributing profuse quantities of prasadam, food, in all of these temples across without considering who is coming from which community or religious background. So, overall, we have had an excellent experience, but definitely being in minority, not only in Bangladesh but in other countries across the world, whenever some kind of elements go out of control, and as they say, start thinking that only this community should exist, not the others, then that ecosystem has to be set right and corrective measures need to be taken to ensure that harmony and peace is restored.
Yes, Ms. Das, you correctly pointed out that it was through the efforts of the government of Bangladesh that ISKCON was able to set up its organization within the country itself. But today we are learning that individuals associated with ISKCON, their bank accounts are being frozen, their movements are being monitored by the Bangladeshi government. Why exactly do you think members of ISKCON are being targeted? Do you feel that this is part of a larger conspiracy?
Well, ISKCON is a very peaceful organization, and the devotees in Bangladesh are citizens of Bangladesh and who are very proud of being citizens and have contributed significantly to the growth and the progress of Bangladesh along with other minority communities. And they have their occupations, their businesses, their families, their education system, all rooted in Bangladesh. Their cultural ethos is very much integrated with that of Bangladesh. Currently, what to speak of ISKCON, over the last couple of months, there have been so many political upheavals which have shaken the very fabric of the society in Bangladesh. And ISKCON, being a very prominent Hindu organization and quite well organized, has definitely been facing the brunt of this opposition. We are committed to ensuring that we work very closely with all the concerned and relevant authorities in Bangladesh, in India, with other communities, with other minority communities in Bangladesh, to ensure that the current cataclysm and the upheaval, which has created some kind of abnormality in the way society is functioning, is very much taken care, and normalcy and peace and communal harmony is restored at the earliest.
Mr. Das, is ISKCON receiving any SOS messages, pardon me, from its members in Bangladesh?
Naturally, when there is this kind of a political climate where there is a lot of uncertainty, attacks, and various kinds of threats to life and things like that, it's a very, very delicate situation. The leadership of ISKCON is extremely concerned, and the leadership in Bangladesh, led by Charu Chandra Prabhu and others, are closely monitoring the situation. That leadership in Bangladesh of ISKCON is in close contact with practically the entire Bangladesh ISKCON Yatra, and making sure that any kind of support and help which is required for any center or any individual is being supported and taken care of. And yes, many times in helpless situation, the biggest loss is that of loss of hope. So we are ensuring that when in such a situation, when some of the people are losing hope, we are providing that moral support. And also we are being provided excellent support by the government of India, by the Ministry of External Affairs, by Shri Jaishankarji himself and Prime Minister Modi. All of them are really supporting and helping and making sure that whatever way the situation can be restored back to normalcy should be done at the earliest.
Mr. Das, at the same time, why do you think the Bangladesh government is then downplaying atrocities against Hindus, even though there has been a lot of visual evidence that has come out of Bangladesh?
Yes, as I mentioned, that we as an organization are appealing to the Bangladesh government to make sure that proper protection and support is given, to properly identify and hold accountable all of those who have been responsible for the attacks on the Sanatani community. And we want to protect the civil rights of all the Sanatanis. We want the government to implement immediate and effective measures to maintain peace and harmony. So therefore, as you can see that, you know, things are getting delayed, we really hope and urge the government that they really do their level best to make sure that this entire process of restoration of normalcy and protection of civil rights of the minorities is done at the earliest.
Mr. Das, before we let you go, sir, one last question. In your assessment, who is responsible then for the atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh? And do you feel that the current regime is perhaps turning a blind eye to what's happening?
I would say that these kind of issues where the minorities get targeted happens at a periodic basis depending on certain elements which gain control and which are difficult to be controlled by other forces. And it has happened in other parts across the world, across communities, across depending on who are the minorities involved. I'm quite confident that if there is a consistent and regular dialogue happening with the Bangladeshi government from forces from across the world, because today you cannot live in isolation. We are living in a globally connected society where for not just human rights but also for trade, commerce, economy, everything, we are dependent and codependent on each other. So therefore nobody is independent. We need a collaborative and a cooperative model, and we are very confident that the government of Bangladesh will be able to resolve some of the pain points which the society is currently facing, especially with respect to protection of minorities. And very soon we will find the Bangladesh which actually protects and supports all communities in a very wonderful, harmonious manner.
Mr. Das, thank you so much for joining us on NewsX with your perspective. We appreciate some clarity coming in from ISKCON as well, and we appreciate the efforts ISKCON is undertaking to speak to the government in Bangladesh to restore peace and normalcy. Thank you so much for joining us on NewsX.